The opposition is appalled by the government's policy of isolation, which would also affect those seeking help from Ukraine. Amid the flow of desperate people trying to escape the war in Ukraine, the British government on Tuesday sought to erect more walls against those seeking help. The new Borders and Citizenship Bill, currently being steered through Parliament by Home Secretary Priti Patel, classifies Ukrainians and other refugees who arrive in Britain without prior entry permit as illegal migrants. They face up to 4 years in prison. The law, which was put to the vote again in the House of Commons the day before yesterday, has drawn sharp criticism from opposition politicians, also British refugee organizations and the United Nations. Members of the House of Lords had objected to controversial provisions and demanded changes, forcing another decision. Labour's Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper called the law deeply shameful, especially at this time. The UN Refugee Agency has warned against weakening the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. For the British Association Freedom from Torture, the government initiative is the most massive attack on refugee rights in the last 70 years in the United Kingdom. Among the provisions Secretary Patel wants to push through is a new rule that will give people who come into the country without entitlement or even through a safe third country to seek asylum in the UK no general right to stay anymore. This measure originally targeted both people from the Middle East and Africa. But this would also affect Ukraine refugees who, for example, wanted to cross the English Channel from Calais without being in a possession of a refugee visa upon arrival. The British the only ones that demand visas there anyway. Other provisions give British border patrol boats the power to ward off approaching refugee boats on the canal or the channel. However, Home Secretary's idea of shipping asylum seekers to remote islands, such as the British military base Ascension Island in the South Atlantic, while their applications are being examined, has caused particular outrage. The plan would be that the persons or families concerned would be flown out to such distant islands within 7 days of their arrival in England, and that they would live there for years if necessary, until a decision was made on them or another host country was found for them. This plan, which is based on the Australian model and which Priti Patel attributes to a high deterrent effect, has also met with angry reactions in the Conservative camp. The whole thing is morally and financially absurd, said former Development Minister Andrew Mitchell. We can build a British Guantanamo Bay right away, he says. Ex-Brexit Minister David Davis can hardly imagine sending Ukrainian asylum seekers to such islands when they arrive here by boat. And if you can't do that to the Ukrainians, why then someone else from another part of the world? Well, Secretary Patel, however, dismisses such objections. On the one hand, she explains with Brexit, the country's own population was promised the reappropriation of sovereignty over their borders. On the other hand, 2 separate new admission programs are available to refugees from Ukraine. So far, however, both have had little effect. And this is still a shame, and I'm just repeating this. Britain is the only European country here that demands visa for refugees from the Ukraine. All the so evil EU countries, what some people always call them, are taking them in without bureaucracy. After they arrived, of course, registration to get money and stuff, of course, but not when they're coming. They can come, and they are coming, but not to Britain. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.